OTARA State of Mind by Facekilla is arguably one of the greatest hip-hop songs to come out of New Zealand. Welcome to New Zealand Hood Politics. In this video we'll be talking about the story of Killer Beez rapper Facekilla. Paul Dalton, better known as Facekilla, was born and raised in the dangerous streets of OTARA, South Auckland, that had a reputation for high crime rates and gang culture. In the 80s, the area was nicknamed OTARA Shopping Centre after a man was beheaded with a machete in the OTARA Shopping Centre. In the early 2000s, Auckland's gang culture had increased, with a lot of different youth street gangs forming all over Auckland. As more gangs formed, there was more tension, with gangs fighting over territory, drugs, women and money. Facekilla would grow up in the Auckland gang culture when it was at its peak. As a young teenager, Facekilla would experience a lot of trials and tribulations while in the streets. From losing close friends in the gang life to getting harassed by police, which is why he had a deep hatred for cops. In the 90s, OTARA was dominated by the Stormtroopers and Tribesmen Motorcycle Club. Few years later, in the early 2000s, Facekilla's environment would force him to deal with the cards he was dealt with. He joined his childhood friends to form a youth street gang called the Killer Beez. Some well-known names who started the Killer Beez gang is the President Josh Masters, who goes by the rap name Gravity, and the street-famous rapper Vigilante the Prophet. The Killer Beez began to make noise in the streets of Auckland, showing on the newspaper headlines more frequently. The KBs were getting involved in all sorts of crimes and quickly rose to one of the most feared gangs in New Zealand, as the gang had plans to spread out all over New Zealand. Where there was gang culture, there was rap music. The KBs, along with other OTARA rappers, formed a record label called Collaborators. The record label would create a lot of street anthems like Put Your Colours On and Hang With Us. On the other hand, fellow OTARA rapper, Young Sid, was blowing up with his rap group, Smash Proof, where they became famous with their smash hit Brother, which still plays on the radio till this day. Even though Colourway Records wasn't getting any airtime on the radios because of their gang ties, there was music was mainstream in the streets and ghettos of New Zealand that could relate. But one of the most important tracks to come out of OTARA was Facekilla's OTARA State of Mind, which shook the streets of New Zealand with his real and raw raps about the streets of OTARA. This track became so popular it was known as OTARA's anthem. This song relates to those from similar backgrounds and hip-hop fans who might have come from a different lifestyle, as Facekilla was very talented with his rapping. He talked about the realities of growing up in OTARA and coming from a low-income family, meaning he had to turn to crime as there was no other option. Living his life a little differently from the normal civilian, most days trying to get their hustle on to make a living or getting drunk and high in the streets of Flatbush, OTARA. Living every day with stress and death, Facekilla raps in the chorus and ends it with, "Living in these streets I was taught to behave." Through hardship and struggle, he learned a lot of lessons. He talks about how he can't get a job anywhere as he isn't qualified, so he was sick of being denied and told to try. He talks about how people who aren't from South Auckland often look at South Auckland as the hood or ghetto, but if you live there, living is all good. Facekilla was also good friends with fellow OTARA rappers Erman and Mr. Sick, who have a few hood anthems of their own. Erman is one of the original members of the OTARA rap scene, previously being in the famous OTARA music group, OTARA Millionaires Club, and his famous hood anthem Bank Job. Mr. Sick is known for his street anthem Ear to the Street, and is the older brother of Smashproof rapper Young Sid. Mr. Sick and Facekilla were close friends growing up on the same street. Mr. Sick also went viral in 2016 for allegedly getting into a brawl with A$AP Rocky. Mr. Sick told his side of the story on the Nixon and Nate podcast that he wasn't trying to fight A$AP Rocky, but members from the group he came with started to get into a physical altercation with Mr. Rocky and others in his group. Mr. Sick described Facekilla as the coolest person on their street. Facekilla is respected in every hood throughout New Zealand and is usually crowned as the best gangster rapper in New Zealand, even to this day. No one has come close to Facekilla's style, and I don't think anyone will, because he was unique. Facekilla has inspired many new generations of artists, as OTARA has many young talented rappers such as Killer and many more. Facekilla's song OTARA State of Mind is used in nearly every video of famous hood vlogger The Fallon Show's YouTube videos, which just shows how much Facekilla's song relates to a lot of people in New Zealand, Aotearoa. Last but not least, Facekilla ended up having children and was a loving father. He was loved by many, especially by his family and those who loved New Zealand hip-hop. Facekilla will forever be one of the greatest in New Zealand music, and his legacy will live on forever and will never be forgotten. We are not trying to promote the gang life to anyone, but just state facts and give a little bit of a history lesson of those who came before us and paved a way for New Zealand hip-hop to thrive. Especially for those in South Auckland hearing Facekilla's music everywhere in the streets. That brings us to the end of the story of Facekilla the Sermon. Apologies if I have missed any information on Facekilla. Please don't hesitate to contact via email if you have any inquiries, or just simply leave a comment. Thanks for watching New Zealand Hood Politics. If you enjoyed this video, please hit subscribe, like, and share for more. Stay safe out there. Love and respect.